Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome to the Fords on Monday SoF Series, now hosted on Maconi Entertainment. I've been covering this series for over more than a season at this point, make it almost 2, and it's been an absolute joy every single week. If you're experienced on the channel and you're along for this show for the first time, I hope you enjoy, and if you are an FF1600 regular like any other, then I wish you a very well welcome to the channel, and I hope you enjoy the show as much as ever. Week 8 of the championship, it's getting up to a very, very close margin between some of our top drivers. We head to Snetteron. I'm Howie Burrows, and I'm joined by Ron Mones, who's someone who knows these cars and its track very, very well himself.
That I think I potentially do. I think I'm qualified to talk about this combination. I gotta say, Howie, we are in for a good one here today. As much as this track is really tight, really twisty, and really technical, it's also one that could bring out the best in these racers. You got enough flat-out blasts and enough heavy braking zones to get some moves done, but at the same time, this track is super technical, 13 turns in all. It's a rather historic track as well. Despite the fact that it does have a lot of elevation change, I think we're still in for a barn burner nonetheless.
This place, I could complain about it, I could cry about it, and I might do so over the course of this race. It's a real challenge and one of the hardest on the entire British schedule last season of the heavily British schedule, of course. Last season, we went to the 200, which became a bit of a draft train. This season, the 300 will bring us something very, very different indeed. But wish a thank you, as ever, to our season sponsor, FILMBIL.NO, who I hope I can find one of their cars lying around on the grid. Alexander Istad will do, providing all sorts of filming services related to any vehicles you could ever need for your TV or movie productions in the Scandinavian and Norway area. Make sure to check out FILMBIL.NO if that does indeed cross what you do in your life. They've been a great sponsor of the series up to now, though, and well, they're going to help us witness the end of this exciting long run. Drivers are just about starting their qualifying laps right now. We're going to have a look at Istad on board as he runs. As if we take a look at the championship standings, typical website for these is a little bit patchwork, so I'm trying to make these make sense. Daniel Tufts, only the 5 car in today's race has a big points advantage. Sure, Streetley's going to start dropping off in the coming weeks as there are some heavy drop weeks associated, and he hasn't really shown up for a while. Istad and Cash in with a good run, and I see Tim Hendrickson sniping at the bottom. Australian Ringo first made it 1 week. Now he's made it a season-long conquest, I think. Our 8K driver, not quite as impressive as the 10K for our new community manager, Adam Miles. Congratulations. But still, I consider him, I might consider him an invader until he eventually comes and wins the whole championship.
I mean, hey, a championship is a championship. You got to get that done at some point in time. Getting a 10K I rating, that's good. Getting a championship, at least as far as I'm concerned, a little bit better. But hey, doesn't matter what kind of I rating these drivers have. It's going to be tough running around this track, Howie. I briefly mentioned some of the challenges, and we talked about them a little bit before we went live on this show. 13 turns in all around this very technical track. It's just super tight through here as well. Not a lot of areas where you can run or hide. Have a small little slip up heading through some of the fast corners around this racetrack, and you're going to take a one-way trip into that grass. Very thankful, I'm sure these drivers are, the fact that iRacing changed the grass physics a couple of seasons ago. So once they hit it, it's not going to be a giant slip and slide. Still not going to be the ideal line. I think a regular Formula Ford car looks good enough on its own. Probably doesn't look a little bit better with grass clippings all over the side of it. But this is still going to be a super tough race for these competitors. 20 minutes long is the race length in front of them, but right now in this qualifying session, these drivers are looking to grasp the challenge around this track.
We just passed by one of my least favorite corners in the whole sim, and I won't spend 20 minutes complaining about it, so I'll complain about it just now. What did you have to say about that little bump before Nelson Corner before the show went live?
I believe the comment that came out of my mouth was that if the British ever decide to send a manned space mission to the moon, chances are it would originate heading through turn number 9 that immediately precedes it, whack that inside curb, and bing, off you go right onto the lunar surface. I have seen many drivers pick up some airtime running around there, regardless of what kind of race cars it could be. Could be a Formula Ford, could be a Spec Racer Ford, could be a Formula 4. Doesn't matter, you hit that curb, and chances are you're either going to flip it or get so high up in the air that you'd probably make a good background actor in a Snoop Dogg music video.
I've worked with you plenty of times, Ron, and let me tell you, you're always just one. It's absolutely filled to the brim with 101 analogies. I'm sure you'll have more as the season finishes itself. Quite a long lap around this track. 1 minute 58, the fastest from Tim Hendrickson. Actually, not. Drivers will be able to get one more in, but it's going to be so easy to get off tracks around it. It's a fast first lap from Tim, with Pierre van der Noord 2 attempts behind. Haven't seen him hit the track in a while, but he's back to mark. This free track on the iRacing subscription always brings out a lot of drivers, and we have a few great tracks coming down the line as well. Another trip to Alton Park, which we're not sure whether it's going to be dry or wet. Watch this space, alongside Silverstone and, of course, Donington, who one of our series supporters professed a love for a long time. I didn't get it, and then I finally got to race it recently, and I was like, oh, wow, yeah, downhill really is like that. It's wild out there. 18 cars, a lot of them running, and Tim Hendrickson about to finish his second lap. It's quite hard to tell where people are gaining or losing time here, to be totally honest, but he's going to run through the final few turns. At least there are signs so that I can tell that that's Murray's. That might be considered on the track, using some of that run-off on the left-hand side. Tim Hendrickson crosses the line with one more attempt at a lap. And I'm not sure it is an improvement. It's an improvement by about 5 attempts. Van der Noord yet to quite finish his. Still got quite some distance to make up around the track. Cash looks like he's locked into P3. Keep an eye on Nord here as he finishes his run.
Yeah, about to head his way off through Coram Bend, turn number 12 around this track, a never-ending corner, and then you have to lick the stamp and set it into Murray's of turn 13. Super tough braking zone to try and nail down, but if you can get it right and get the power down out of the corner, you're going to be in for a good lap time. Instead, jumping up to P2, that's a good lap time for the driver, the number 4, but as a 3 driver comes across the line, he's currently slotted in 4th, crosses the line. Now, is it an improvement on that 158.941? Yes, it is. Only jumps up into P3 though, so not a big improvement from the driver of the number 3 car, but hey, still, it's a second row spot, which I'm sure he's not going to be too upset about.
Last driver to set a lap here is Dima Sirkin. Everyone else has run their laps and is just doing their glory laps to run down the timer. SR count in this time. Dima Sirkin, 4K. Surprised to see at the bottom of quite a wide SOF in this otherwise 3.3K SOF race. Second lap could be an improvement. It's a big one to P7.
Yeah, that is a massive improvement around a racetrack like this. As much as it wasn't one that got a lot of use on the iRacing platform a matter of about a year ago, once it's been put into the service as part of base content, it's gotten a lot more use. It's been a part of the past couple Formula Ford schedules here on the iRacing platform. Of course, the host of this week's race, and considering this is one of the last races from this week of iRacing, these drivers probably have a lot of experience running around here, so it might be a close competitive race.
That's one of the joys of running an SOF race so late in the week. They're usually the first of the week, but instead drivers get to do a lot of running, especially on a busy week like this. Starting grid all lined up. Let's try and do this quickly because we get time for the drivers to grid, and that's pretty much just it. I love the speed run over here. Tim Hendrickson lines up on pole with Alexander Istad in P2. Peter van der Noord sits in 3rd with Andrea Bellotti in 4th. Daniel Tuff sits in 5th with Christopher Cash in 6th. Dima Sirkin starts 7th with Graham Rory Hunt in 8th. I'll get that name right for the first time ever today. Nick Aronson in 9th with Nato Brown in 10th. Ian Anderson sits 11th with Erwin Paul in 12th in front of Andrew Morant, Stephen Lowbridge, Luke Magnet, David Whitehouse, David McGowan, Michael Gare, and that makes 18 on the grid. It's very busy out there, and drivers just about to finish off their gridding process. Just a couple buying us time, I like to think, on this road. 20 minutes on the track, and with quite the punishing instant DQ. I've seen it come up now more often than not. Open setups available, but you do have the fast repair in case there's a major incident. Won't get you back in the race, but some races turn into wrecking fields. Where is the first battle going to unfold, Ron? This is going to be quite a run to the line.
I think heading down into turn number 2, the Montreal hairpin will be the spot where these drivers try and go for those overtakes. It's a first heavy braking zone of this lap. You want to get those moves done early while the field is still packed in like sardines, but we're about to grab the green, and it's going to be a fun one.
Drivers are lined up quite close at the start. Tim Hendrickson gets to lead the road for the 3rd week running. We are green, and he doesn't get a good launch off the road. Alexander Istad and Peter van der Noord filing behind. Little bit of two-way from Dima Sirkin in the 8 car as they fly through the first turn. Pretty even-handed from the back of that road. There's Ian Anderson there, tangling with the 11 of Nato Brown. In the 200 layout, you'd be running all the way down a back straight, but instead we get quite the delicate dance around here now. These very, very technical corners might reward the crazy dive bombs as Daniel Tufts slides his way up into P4, but I think drivers are going to be looking to get the draft down that straight. Who's going to be bold enough to make the move into the Nelson hump?
Yeah, and that section is super tough to try and get a move done. You think, okay, at the end of the longest flat-out blast on the entirety of this lap, you can get some moves done well through there. If that section was reversed, I think it would be easy, but considering that you're going through a medium-speed, long left-handed sweeper, then you have to jam on the brakes to get into Nelson of turn number 10, that makes it really difficult to try and get a move done heading off through that section. That tight and twisty infield that makes up this 300 layout probably going to be the spot where we see these drivers make the most amount of moves. From my previous experience covering Formula Ford action here at Snetteron, I can let you know that that infield is super, super tough to try and nail down. Turns number 4 and turn number 6 saw a bit of incidents throughout the week. I have a feeling we may end up seeing that in this race today.
It's certainly going to be a long-run race. We're estimating about 11 laps of this place, and really only a few places to make the dramatic dives. But you are right, take maybe a look down that start-finish. That is one of the better places to get it done. These are very slipstreamy cars. They love to run very, very close behind each other. So we could get some big jumps on the line. We've seen races this season elsewhere defined by drivers being able to get the run at the right time, maybe being second. Tim Hendrickson sort of lost the draft train earlier at Zandvoort, so he might be able to hold this P1 for now, but Daniel Tufts sticks it up the inside of van der Noord. We're going to be seeing a little bit of trading going that way. We'll see how that plays out on the next lap. Quite a big gap here behind Christopher Catton and Dima Sirkin, 8 tenths back. Doesn't look too big visually, but it's remarkably big compared to the other drivers. You don't want to lose that train. Yeah, you don't want to lose that drift. You don't want to lose touch with your competitors. And if you start this race on a slightly sour note, considering it is 20 minutes of hard racing from the drop of the green flag all the way through to the fall of the checkered, you don't want to start it off on a bad foot. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. But if you snap your ankle on that first step, you're not going to look forward to the rest of the trip. As that's spinning off, that's Graham Rory Hunt through turn 4. Graham Rory Hunt looks like he's gone around. We'll try and catch up on the replay what went wrong on that one. Could have been a self-inflicted, could have been tagged by another car. It's very, very tight around that. It's a 7 car behind. I'll keep an eye. No, that is indeed a self-spin on the brakes. Keeps it out of the way just in time for the rest of the race to filter out. He's going to be running back in 17th, not all the way off. Now, there's a few other battles happening on this grid other than just the overall championship. The Div 3 FF Open title is sort of all up for grabs, according to one of my trusty informants, David Whitehouse, battling, and Andrew Morant, Stephen Lowbridge, and David Whitehouse all battling to try and get that locked up. Everybody's playing their own sort of game around here now. And Tim Hendrickson showed up a few weeks ago to an earlier race. I just thought he was coming in to mess with me, but it looks like he's taking it very, very seriously, winning this championship from the back. He's leading, exiting at the 3rd lap. entering the third lap. We're estimating about 10 now, according to current pace. Daniel Tuff's fastest on the road.
And Daniel Tuss, a very quick driver in these Formula Fords, usually has a tendency to break the elbows out and go for the moves. He may go for one, heading down into turn number 2, the dive down the inside of Istad. And that's going to be Daniel Tuff jumping his way up into P2, the driver, the number 5. Always very quick in these Formula Ford machines. And in all of that, Istad now going to feel a little bit of pressure from Peter van den Noord right behind. That may be a battle for the final podium spot, is running wide out of turn number 3. That's a dangerous game to play. You talked about it a little bit earlier on, Howie. This is an official series, so you do have those official series incident point limits to worry about. 17X can go by in the blink of an eye around a racetrack like this. It's narrow, it's tight, it's twisty, and it's technical, with those grass runoff areas right by your side. Very hungry for your safety rating.
In prior seasons, there were never really problems with the DQs, but they've been kicking off left, right, and centre this season, and not just on the flashpoint tracks. It's very rarely just the off-tracks alone that will do it, but if you treat track limits like a suggestion and end up tangled in an incident in the last couple of laps, it's all over. Suddenly you're just disappeared from the track, abducted by a UFO, as you would say. Cash at the back of this 5-car pack. Now you can see Dima Sirkin miles back as a move there tried to be made by Andrea Bellotti. That proves how hard it is to make a move out of Nelson like that. Like, you just think it's going to work, you think it's going to make sense, and you just a track just sort of falls away from you. I just want to keep an eye on how this attempt was executed. It's what's just so unusual about this track. There's an amazing run to be had here, and then you just can't really get the nose in enough to make it happen.
Yeah, heading off through that section, there's usually 3 ways that it goes. It results in the driver, at least one of them, whether it be the attacking driver or the driver looking to defend and hold on to that spot, losing a boatload of time heading off through there. It either ends that way, it ends in someone hitting that inside curb and promptly getting sent off into low Earth orbit, or it results in the both of them going off the track in a cloud of dust and steam. Meanwhile, side-by-side racing involving Peter van den Noord and Alexander Istad. That's heading off through bomb hole, through quorum of turn number 12 right now. Nord gonna get that move done to jump his way up into the final podium spot. He got the move done with a good run heading through the chicane, but I think there may have been a bit more of extracurricular moments that caused him to lose out on a bit of time. But nonetheless, that's how it's shaking at the front of the field. Hendrickson and Tufts actually broken away a little bit. Van den Noord and that pack behind, still within striking distance, but it looks like those front two trying to form a pack and a peloton of their own.
Sometimes in these cars and in these races, it's just about being in the right place by the end. The pressure will boil up and up and up until it's unbearable and it explodes. That's very much often how it goes. I don't see Dima Sirkin making up this time. 3.2 seconds now. Overall, slowly leading this train, and it makes you wonder if someone's going to try and force their way through and decide, I'm going to try and catch this field. We saw Bellotti try and make the move last time down this straight. The run is a lot better this time. He may be being covered up by the Comma Oil bridge. I'm sure they're glad to get their sponsorship in, but that move is this time sealed well before the necessary turn. They were cutting off Nick Aronson just in time. Now Ian trying to make that move done himself, not quite. It's going to be interesting now. 3.8 seconds for Bellotti to make up. Will he be able to do it?
And that is the real question as we slowly but surely inch our way into the halfway mark of this race. Now it's 12 minutes left to go on the clock. These drivers still looking to find any way in the book to get past their competitors. It's a tight track, so there's not a whole lot of overtaking opportunities on paper, but there's plenty when you think about it, because there's plenty of opportunities for your competitors to make a mistake. One driver is going to look to try and make hay while the sun is shining as Daniel Tufts, still within striking distance of Hendrickson, heading down into the hairpin. That's oh so close between Istad and Kash, heading off through the hairpin. That could have ended in absolute tears. Instead, it results in those two drivers remaining in their same spots. That gap at the front is still absolutely ballooned out as we take a look at a pack a little bit farther behind those drivers.
Dima's taken that lead of the pack again. Seems like the Nick could not run away, neither could Bellotti. Now Bellotti's going to try and have that tangle. Cars are dueling everywhere, and I see Peter van den Noord backwards on the road, and he just joins right in front of that new pack. Gets keep an eye on what quite happened there. these cars, they became a lot grippier halfway through this season, but it's still very possible to loop them. But that isn't looping it at all. That's just being straight run over, I think, by the car of Alexander Istad into the turn. That sent Peter van der Noord back into this sort of meat grinder of cars. He's got to try and make it through a few to push his way back up.
And speaking of that incident down into turn number 4 and some of the other challenges that surround this racetrack, it's not one with a whole lot of elevation change. The most amount of elevation change you really get is heading off through that turn number 11 of Bomb Hole. And the reason why there's a lot of elevation change, it's just a crater in the earth that they just said, you know what, screw it, let's build a racetrack around here and just run through that section of road. So no harm, no foul done there. A rather flat track this, but it still has that character. But because it's flat, not a lot of reference points when it comes to turning in, so it could be a reason why that was the case. As side by side at the front of the field, Tufts looking at the outside down to 1.
I mean, as with most British tracks, this place was built on a former World War II airfield. A good attempt there by Tufts to make the run. That sort of thing will have him win the race over the start-finish line at the end when it counts, I have the feeling. But turn 1 runs away from you and makes it difficult. Looks like van der Noord's going to try this time, punch his way through Dima Circuit, but there's a little bit of a Constantina into the Wilson hairpin, and out of the end of it, van der Noord still leads. Circuit holding people off quite well, remarkably so, for somebody who has been, I would have thought he was maybe holding up the pack. It's now a 5-second gap, but maybe there's no way to make headway around here. Still lots of duels happening further back. I'm just like, keep an eye on David Whitehouse. But honestly, I could look anywhere and things could be happening on this track. This is one of the biggest grids I've seen in quite a while on this series.
And with a big grid, we also have a lot of competition all throughout it, and these drivers feeling confident as well. The track conditions pretty much perfect for racing action. The track temperatures just warm enough whereby these tires are going to be grippy, but not too warm whereby they'll start to get a bit greasy. The ambient temperatures as well working pretty good. These cars are producing a heck of a lot of power heading down some of these flat-out blasts, and here's a train of cars chugging their way down that Bentley straightaway off into the 9 and 10 section. Side-by-side racing heading off through here usually ends in one way, and it ends badly for at least one driver. Actually ends rather smoothly, as despite a little bit of lawn mowing on a corner exit, that is a rather slick move from Synchron to be able to hold off to P6.
It's maybe I'm just going to keep getting it. There's always a name every week I get like hilariously, religiously wrong, and that's just like part of the game. Big duel down the start-finish again. Keeping an eye on this because Daniel Tufts would win a race on the line if allowed to be P2 in a situation like that. Obviously, he may just lose that position coming out the start-finish, but I tell you the one thing Tim Hendrickson drives all the time are the Skip Barber cars. I covered that for a full season in my time, and those cars do slipstream and draft like nothing else, so Tim does know what the game is. I think he just chooses to play it differently here. You're going to have a crazy run to win from P1 across the line, because at the end of the day, it's not turn 1 that matters, it's the transponder on the start-finish. Transponder is in the middle of these cars, but I think it would go to Tufts, according to my recollection.
And it's all going to come down, I feel, to that run coming out of the final corner. I talked about some of the challenges heading off through that section as well, side by side down into turn number 4. These drivers still battling tooth and nail. That's a fight involving Ian Anderson and Nick Aronson. That is a battle for P8 on the road heading down into turn number 5 right now. This fast kink, very easy to get caught up in the smoke and drama of it all. This is a tough section of the track, though. I talked about turns number 4 and 6. That's turn 6 leading into turn 7 right there. And it's real easy to have your race end in total disaster heading off that section of the track. It ends rather smooth, though. Aronson, who we're riding on board with right now in the number 6 car, currently slotted in 9th, getting that draft off the back of Ian Anderson's race car. And as much as these cars aren't the draftiest cars in the world, still powerful enough to try and go for these moves, heading down at the end of the Bentley straightaway off into 9 and 10. He looked for a move around the outside, but you have to have a whole lot of head of speed to even think about getting a move done like that.
Would like to just spotlight an incident from Luke Margetts. I'm almost sorry for putting people on blast, but it's part of the expectation of the day. So sometimes we have to show what happens to you on the track. We saw him go off I'm just not sure what quite led to it. He got a meatball flag from this. Very fast run around the outside and clearly carrying too much speed into the wall. That's a bonk if there ever was one before. It happens to the best of us. Very easy to carry a little bit too much speed around this track and just sort of run yourself wide into a wall. When I'm not locking it into Nelson, people are doing it at the end of the track as well, it seems. This top two, they've run away 2.7 seconds. Don't see anybody else catching it, but how they play this final straight is going to matter. My estimation has changed again to 11 laps. So I believe we're on 8 out of estimated 11, and I will see when the white flag comes out as ever. And if that happens, as 8, 9, 10, 11, I have to count 4 on my hands. That's how hard this job is sometimes. That's 4 attempts to work out whether you can be ahead on the line. You only need to be ahead by an inch when it matters.
When it comes to these races here in Formula Ford machinery, usually the opening stages, it's just like dipping your toes into the pool and seeing how cold or warm the water is. Then you can go for that cannonball and see whether you get those style points at the very end of it. Right now, Daniel Tufts, he's testing the waters. He's trying to see what he can do. Tim Hendrickson, a very quick driver. He's got the #1 on his car for a very good reason. But Daniel Tufts is quick, and he's a resilience racer as well. I talked about this a little bit earlier on. I've experienced covering Daniel Tufts in a different series on the iRacing platform, but I can let you know that Daniel Tufts, very quick driver, but he has that ability to just say, you know what, screw it. He will go for the moves. He'll go for the dives. He will go for the sends. Daniel Tufts is a quick driver in that #5 car, so as much as Tim Hendrickson may have that iRating advantage, at the end of the day, iRating is only a number, and if you don't have the confidence running around here, if you have a driver behind you who has the confidence to go for a balls-to-the-wall dive, it may not be your race for the taking. Daniel Tufts sang the 5th lap of the race last time by, so clearly that 5 car has a lot of speed. Hendrickson, meanwhile, he's been setting good lap times, but they've been on the consistent end for sure. Just set his fastest lap of the race last time by, the 57.920, so clearly both of these drivers getting the most amount of pace out of themselves as they possibly can. They're pushing themselves to an extreme.
Daniel Tufts, last season champion, he knows what it takes to win in these cars, and I do think he is biding his time for that start-finish round, although he didn't have a run at it last lap. He was very much behind by the timing tower, couldn't even get side-by-side, Cash and his stat playing the same game. Van der Noord, capable of catching up. No, not capable of catching up, but capable of getting ahead of that group. I think 6 seconds is a big line, even if you could see him up ahead. That's just a matter of being on an airfield. There's nothing to block your vision at all. Huge pack. It's hard to catch everybody. I'm just trying to take a look at some of the closer battles as we approach the last few laps of this race on the way. Andrew Macon's been fighting Morant. The seat came from nowhere. Has been fighting Stephen Labridge for a while. Nick Aronson. Oh, Nick Aronson's off the track. That's not quite how that's meant to go, but we can keep an eye on how that one happened.
It's heading down into 6 and 7, so I guess my premonition was rather correct about that section of the racetrack. Really easy to make a mistake. Clip the grass a little bit on entry. No, it was actually a spin right in front of him for Anderson. He got T-boned and all of that. I think it was Aaron Paul who maybe ran into him. There you can see Nito Braun. I think it was actually the car that came to blows with Anderson, but nonetheless,
he's got a meatball
big
flag.
Drama heading down. Oh yeah,
Nito
that was a huge hit.
has a meatball for that. Surprisingly, just lost a bit of the suspension. It might, though, knowing iRacing meatballs and knowing how long you get, that might not need to be served. I mean, I think you get, basically, depending on how you define laps, it goes between 3 and 5, and there could only be 2 to go. So I think Nito Brown's going to keep running. As Tufts goes to make the move, he wants to be leading. Not quite, ducks in behind. The aggression is amping up among these top 2. And Daniel Tufts is trying to find whichever way will work to get him the biggest run possible down to that start-finish. I don't think we have the white flag this time. Nito Brown is stopping in the pit. I am sure that he could have finished without serving that one. But time goes on, and he gets that fast repair done and runs from the back. Nonetheless, this battle is going to go down to absolute inches. We've not seen the white flag yet. We may get another run of it. How is this going to work on the line?
How's it going to shake out for Tufts? How's it going to shake out for Hendrickson? How's it going to work out for both of these racers? If they come to blows, the battle for the final podium spot's going to turn into a battle for the win. And if that happens, holy cow, this race is going to get intense right towards the very end. Daniel Tufts, though, I'm not sure if he's confident that he can get that move done coming to the line. Maybe doesn't feel good about his chances heading off through the final corner, or perhaps he just wants to get it done with authority, try and get the move done early on than he probably would prefer, and just trying to extend that gap towards the very end of this race. He's still hounding the gearbox of that number one car, heading his way down into turn number 12, and about 33 seconds left on the clock. I didn't see the white flag in the air. Barry didn't have it in his hand, but let's see as they head their way into the final corner.
Yeah, this is curious. We've had timing problems. Last time I covered a race at Snetteron, it might have just run within it. I don't think they can call a checkment on the spot. Here comes Tufts running. He's going to be holding something as he makes the run. He's not ahead by the line. And iRacing hasn't called it yet. That's the white flag lap. Daniel Tufts not leading on the line in that instance. This is going to be a real duel to the line. The overlay hates how quickly they're trading positions. You in your voice hate how quickly they're trading positions. Maybe Daniel's decided now's the time to get into the lead. He could win by drafting, and he pushes Tim Hendrickson a little bit wide. Although a little bit of a push back. Sends them down, sends them into some of these tight, twisty corners. It's exploding here, Daniel Tufts. Just about clipping with suspension on the rear. There's drama everywhere, and a DQ for Peter van der Noord with an off-track. Told you those would happen. Peter van der Noord sent to the back of the lap. That contact might have just sealed this race completely. The gap is now 5 tenths. Tim Hendrickson is going to struggle to get drafted down to the line. Still lots of track to go. They're going to hit this back stretch. Daniel could use it to make up time, but there's not much of it to go. It's 6 tenths now. This is going to be a real struggle.
Yeah, I think Daniel Tufts may have exhausted all of his opportunities, but he fought like hell to try and get it done. Contact heading through 1, contact heading through 2. They nearly both blew themselves off the track coming out of turn number 3. It's not really going to work out for Daniel Tufts unless he can have a monumental run heading towards the end of this lap, running a little bit wide coming out of turn number 10. That's not going to help out his cause one bit. That gap ballooning out, still around 6 tenths of a second. Tim Hendrickson certainly felt the burn towards the end of this race, but I think Daniel Tufts tried. It just didn't really work out for him.
There could be a chance for a monster run, but I don't think it's going to happen. And that gives Tim Hendrickson his first win of the season. Another 50 points in the book, and he is a serious championship contender now. Tim Hendrickson wins at Snetteron. We're going to get a whole replay of that final lap, I think. I feel like we have to. That was extraordinary.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. And for Tim Hendrickson, he survives it all at the very end. I think both of those drivers should be counting their lucky stars the fact they made at the end of this race as a drift, and he's going to beach it on the inside curb. The one mistake he makes all day long is celebrating the victory. The driver of the number 1 car finishes in P1, but this was a titanic fight right towards the end of this race. You can see how close those 2 cars were on corner exit coming out of Murray's right at the very end of that second to last lap. Tufts had the run. He tried to go for it down the inside off into turn number 1. He had it. You could see he nearly cleared him hang down into the corner, but just really late on the brakes is Hendrickson to stay alongside on the outside line through turn number 1. Tufts, oh so close. You could see how little room that Hendrickson had. A little bit of a lockup for Tufts. Contact being made wheel to wheel contact in an open wheel car usually ends in pure unbridled disaster. These drivers counting their lucky stars, they survived that. Counting their lucky stars, they survived that bit of contact into turn number 3, and bang! That was an absolutely disaster averted. It wasn't the side-to-side, wheel-to-wheel contact like we had seen before. That was tire-to-tire. Bang! If iRacing's physics calculated that a little bit more, that probably would have been Daniel Tufts getting some airtime instead of a silver trophy at the end.
One more incident that kicked off Peter van der Noord eating a disqualification. Off the side, I barely even got any margin on that. Please, please, please go back, go back, go back. We love our rewind buttons. Wish you had them in real life. Running up the outside, there's been this sort of like tussle all race long with Dima Sirkin and That sending wide there of Van der Noord disqualified him from the race, I believe. No, that would up the incident, and then he'd get his DQ with another off track shortly after. He would eat the DQ in about 5 seconds. Oh, a spin off the grass. Another loss of control. And that takes him out of there. Drivers talking through their race. A lot of people are talking through their race on the chat. There was a lot to talk about on the whole field. But let us get you some final results. And then we may be able to speak to some drivers. Race was won to the line by Tim Hendrickson after a close duel with Daniel Tufts. Christopher Cash finishes third, with Alexander Istad in fourth and Andrea Bellotti in fifth. Damon Sirkin finishes sixth with Erwin Paul in seventh, Nick Aronson in eighth, Graham Rory Hunt in ninth, and David Whitehouse in 10th. To you with the rest of them.
And looking through the rest of the drivers in this field, we have Ian Anderson in the 10, Stephen Lowbridge in the number 14. Those two drivers finish in 11th and 12th, respectively. Andrew Morant finishes in P13, fittingly in the number 13 car. David McGowan finishes right behind in 14th. Michael Gare ends up in P15. Nito Braun, who we saw involved in some drama right towards the end of this race, finishes in P16. Peter Vanden Noord, who had that a bit of iRacing glue involved in that incident, must be said, heading down into turn number 1. He DNQs right towards the end of this race, actually DSQs right towards the end of this race to be classed in 17th, with Luke Margits, who had a moment a little bit earlier on in this race, I believe down into turn number 4, if my memory serves me correctly, will round out your 18 cars that are classified at the end of this race. Howie, we've got a driver waiting off in the interview waiting area.
I know who this is, and he's ever cheeky, and he's ever hard to tame. So get ready for this. Tim Hendrickson. Tim Hendrickson is with us to talk about the end of this race. And this time, Tim, I can absolutely 100% confirm that you will be heard on the first go. So
are you sure?
I've had a co-commentator talking for the whole race, so there could have been a disaster at play.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you really are showing up for good this season now. I thought it was a one-off, twos and a one after a very close battle at the end. Talk us through it.
I'm just here for the memes. I'm trying to branch out, like not just do skippies, get back into the Formula Fords. It's been good, fun little car. I still haven't really got the hang of the changes. I can't really turn the car like I used to be able to with the old version, but the racing's still really good, and yeah, great little race with Daniel.
I was very worried that this was going to become another draft race where it was about who led on the line by millimeters, but instead it was something very different after your close range scrap with Tufts in the final laps.
Yeah, he went a little bit wide into turn 2. So that's kind of set the tone for me. So when I saw him trying to get the undercut, or I don't know if it's turn 3, whatever the left-hander is, I don't care. I helped the exit a little bit to compromise his exit. Made him touch my rear wheel. Both very lucky that we got out of there alive. But yeah, plan worked, and finally got that victory.
Well, that was a thrilling race. Some people would call it the Snoozerton, but I think that one just about delivered. Who knows who some people are, quite frankly. It's unknown at this stage.
It's a great track. I mean, it's super technical. It's probably why people don't like it. It's one of those very twisty tracks that it looks very easy to do because it's just flat, doesn't really have any elevation change, so it looks easy, but it's all very technical, how you rotate the car into corners, where you change gear and all that, and that's the sort of stuff I kind of like. But I might be quite boring.
Well, that's fair enough. Any other thank yous before we move on?
Thank you to my basically non-existing Team Torpedo, to the Skip Barber and Formula Ford community, and you guys for putting on the show.
Thank you very much, Tim. Looking forward to seeing more of you if this is how it's going to go. Maybe you'll hit the 10K one day.
I'm not a dirty Adam Miles farmer.
Indeed. Thank you very much. All right, Ron, I'll let you talk to Christopher Cash. He had a race we didn't get to see it too much of, but was plenty exciting in its own right.
Yeah, let's have a chat with him. He's now joining us in the commentary booth. Christopher, welcome in and congratulations on the P3 result. Happy to talk us through this race here at Snetteron.
He'll make his mic work any second. Hello, are you with us, Chris?
Hello, Mr. Cash. The driver with a very nice looking paint scheme. I gotta say, blue chrome. I may be a little bit biased because I'm a fan of blue, but you know that's neither here nor there. Hello, Christopher. Is your microphone up and rolling? Do we have a copy?
Right, we're gonna give him all the time. Give him all the time. We'll give him another. We'll give him another shot. I think there's one more person that might join. Might rotate him out, bring him back in a second because in just 1 second around. We're going to be back with Christopher Cash in a minute. I'm trying to shepherd some drivers over to this server, so it's a little bit of complication in the matters. Usually I do this elsewhere. Finally moved it over to the Maconi server, and all hell has broken loose. Doesn't matter how many warnings you get. Will we be seeing David Whitehouse?
Love us some technical difficulties.
Will we be seeing David Whitehouse make the jump over here? 1 second. Say whatever you please. Fill the air with something funny. You're very good at that.
All right, I'm usually very bad when it comes to filling in stuff with humor. But so as someone who's never dyed their hair, my father and my best friend have decided it's a fantastic idea to gang together and say that whenever they decide that it's finally time that I need to re-dye the headrests in my 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass to re-dye them blue because they're sun-bleached beige, that I should dye my hair blue just in case I get any sort of blue cloth dye on my hair. If that ever happens, I don't think I would ever be able to appear on camera on a broadcast just out of shame. So I'm not sure if that's funny. I'm not sure if that's a little bit of philosophy. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that is. Take that however you want, folks. Sitting into this broadcast here, Maconi.
Might have Chris Cash one more time for you. Second time running, Ron and Chris.
Oh, I think we've got you now, Chris. Welcome into the commentary booth. Well done on the P3. How about you talk us through this race at Snetteron?
Thanks, mate. Rubbish qualifying by me. Just about got through, and then once Alexander went into the back of, can't quite remember who it was. I think that separated us from Daniel and Tim, and I just could not make that gap up at all. Even though I was tried like mad, but I just couldn't make it up.
Yeah, really tough racetrack this. We were talking all throughout this broadcast the challenges around this 13-turn, just a tick under 3-mile long road course. I want to ask you about your thoughts on this place, because it has a bit of a mixed reputation in the racing world.
I like it. It's really technical. You've got to really nail every lap, every corner, which I didn't all the time, and to get a really good lap, yeah, it's really difficult to get a good lap.
And super, super tough. I remember first driving around this track on, I think, Project Cars 2, so definitely not the greatest representation compared to how it is on iRacing, but it's still a fun track, so I gotta say I'm with you in that regard. Gonna be running at another good one, though, Silverstone on the national layout in 1 week's time. What are your thoughts heading into week number 9 of this season?
Yep. I think you've got to love every track, you know? You can't have a good and a bad track. You just got to get on with it all and be quick in them all, whether you like it or not. I don't mind it. Yeah, and now we're into the drop weeks, week 9, so that will be interesting.
Yeah, really looking forward to that race as well. Maybe gotta be a bit of a slipstream fest with the other long flat applets around this track, but nonetheless, Christopher, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. And before we let you go and celebrate this podium today, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Just everyone at Pure Motorsport, all the guys who are racing. Makes it super tough to get a result, but it's all the more rewarding when you do.
Awesome, man. Hey, well, congratulations on the P3 here at Snetteron. Next, that's you back out on the racetrack at Silverstone in 1 week's time.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
That right there was Christopher Cash with, I should have said this while you could actually hear us, a very nice looking paint scheme. Howie, I'm not sure about your perspective in the broadcast booth and here in the commentary booth. That's just a very cool looking car, blue chrome. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird.
I think I've seen it a lot of times. It's a very nice looking car. I had one race where there were like 3 of them on the road, and at that point it's like, okay, I can't tell what any of you are doing. Certainly as a Sharon the first time, I'd love to see something like that in real life. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's coverage of the FF1600 Monday race. Now, Maconi Entertainment. It's been a great race on the track, and there's more to come down the line. Same time, same place at the Silverstone National Circuit. So, from me, Howie Burrows, Ron Mons, and we'll thank you to FILMBIL.NO and Maconi Entertainment. Thank you for watching tonight's show, and we'll wish you a very, very good week ahead for the not too distant future. That's something that's like half of your catchphrase. I messed it up. I ruined it. It's over.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.